is going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and today we're discussing Morbius, which will be coming to theaters this coming weekend. I got the opportunity to check it out early in theaters, in an IMAX theater no less, and I'm going to let you all know my thoughts. Again, I know the word on the street is this might be the worst comic book movie in the last decade. The post-credit scenes alone are some of the worst of all time. I'm going to let you all know my thoughts and let you know if it's worth checking out all in this spoiler-free review. But before we dive into it, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And as you all can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this review, well, make sure to give it a thumbs up and also share this review. But more importantly, let's have a discussion in the comment section. Let me know if you were a fan of this character, if you were excited for this film, but more importantly, once you've seen it, whether you loved it or you hated it or you're somewhere in the middle, let's just have a discussion about the production, direction, performance, visual effects, the story, the ending, post-credit scenes. Let's talk about it all. Do you want more from this character? Let's talk about it in the comments below. So yes, I am on the interwebs. I've heard all the negative buzz about the film. I mean, I literally read some of the article about the director himself giving away the post-credit scene in an interview, which is just mind-boggling to me. But hey, from me to you, word of advice. You can see all that stuff, and even someone that reviews movies all the time. You can take my opinion and, base it on however you want, but don't allow my opinion to, if you are genuinely excited for a film, go check it out. Leave all that baggage at the front door of the theater and go in with an open mind and make your own opinion. So with that being said, let's get into my thoughts, starting off with the positives. First and foremost, before I was a comic book fan, a Sony fan, a Spider-Man fan, I was a horror fan, a supernatural fan, a vampire fan, and I want to say it now. I think within this hour 48-minute film, there are moments far in between, and sprinkled in there is an interesting vampire film in this movie. Number one, Michael Morbius, a man who has this rare blood disease and has been dedicating his life to not only cure himself, but his best friend and people that suffer from the same disease. He does all these experiments. He unfortunately becomes a monster, and the man that wants to save lives is now taking lives. That within itself is just fascinating. And when the film focuses on that element, they do a good job in doing so. The duality of Michael becoming this monster and him just trying to fight the urges to kill people, to eat and drink blood, but he wants to cure people. I just found that to be interesting when it focuses on that, which is mostly highlighted within the first half of the film. Transitioning to me being a horror fan, by no means is this a scary movie. I don't want to say that because what I might find scary, you might find not, and vice versa. I'm kind of desensitized towards certain horror, but I will say I didn't find it scary, but it has some thrilling elements when we do see the monster, the living vampire, chasing people, eating people, just like straight up killing people, which by the way, this film doesn't really, this should have been a rated R film, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. But when the film does try to be more suspenseful, more thrilling, more horror, I think that it did have a good tinge of that when it tried to do that, when it tried to focus on that. So those are some positives. Transitioning to the performances, Jared Leto, I know a lot of people have their personal opinions about him. My opinion aside, I think he's a great actor. I think not only that, but he's won awards to prove that. But neither here nor there. I thought Jared Leto as the actor gave me more in the role than what the role gave him. And I mean that by the script, which we'll talk about in my criticisms. But I think Michael Morbius, just inherently for me, my knowledge of the character comes from the Spider-Man animated series. And I find the character to be interesting, but not all that interesting. Like, I don't think at the end of the day Morbius should have his own film, but that's just my own personal thoughts on it. But putting my personal aside, I think that Michael Morbius, played by Jared Leto, did a good enough job to make it believable. Transitioning to who I think got the most to do in this film, Matt Smith as Milo, who's the best friend of Michael Morbius. He was given a lot. Like, he was given more than the lead of this film. Again, I think inherently Michael Morbius just isn't the most fascinating character, but Milo, to me, I'll compare this to Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. I had fun with Carnage, but Woody Harrelson as the character, Cassidy, before he becomes Carnage, what I wanted from that, I got with Milo. And I'll just kind of say that I really enjoyed Matt Smith. I was very entertained by that character. There was some things said about the visual effects being terrible. I didn't find it to be that terrible. I didn't find it to be great, especially knowing the history of this film that's been delayed so many times. It should have came out 2 years ago. It should have been a lot cleaner. But I thought the CGI of the monster, the creation, the transformation, some of the moments where he's flying through the air and doing all his superpower stuff, some of that stuff looked really clean. But again, it should have been a lot cleaner with the extra time this film had to be made. So I would say, again, visually speaking, it wasn't terrible. It was okay. Costuming I thought was pretty fire. Like, I think from what I know from the character, the reds, the blacks, the purples, I thought the costuming was good. There's a pretty good score in this film, and I thought the direction was okay for the most part. Again, when it's focusing on the duality of the character, the battling of the character, and also a little bit of that thrilling horror elements of the film. Getting to my criticisms. Fundamentally speaking, I think vampire tales are very fascinating. You know, someone that wants immortality, someone that wants to crave blood, someone that doesn't want to do that. There's so much to do within that realm of mythology of vampires. The film doesn't know what it wants to be. Now, I think the first half of this film is very focused. It has a very interesting tale of, again, meeting him at a young age, seeing what drives him, what motivates him. But as the film, unfortunately, goes on, I compare this movie to The Mask. Not the Jim Carrey Mask, but the sequel, The Son of the Mask, which was terrible. This film has a lot of that in there. There is just a mishmash of just tones and genre. We have our two police officers, which I think were meant to be comic relief, which a lot of the jokes, and I was in a pretty packed, press screening, it fell flat. Those cops, Tyrese, I'm a fan of Tyrese, even with his absurdities outside of being an actor. This Winter Soldier arm, I don't know if that was a suggestion by Tyrese or the director, or if it's comic book accurate. Pointless, as well as his character and his partner was pointless. Pointless again. Jared Harris, fantastic actor. He's the scientist. He's the doctor that's been curing Milo and Michael since they were kids. Why he was in the film, no idea. Great actor, just wasn't given much to do. There's a relationship that's established in this film between Michael Morbius and his other doctor, played by Adria Arjona, who again is a friend and becomes something more as the film goes on. I thought their chemistry was non-existent, and I really just felt like they just gave her one thing to do in the film, and it happens later in the movie, and I thought it was kind of pointless. Which brings me to the script. A film, I can go with an okay script. I can go with a story that might not be the most thought-provoking film. But when you have like literally plot holes in your movie that contradicts what you set up literally moments ago, and I'll use an example without spoiling it. Michael Morbius, he's a man that cares for people. But you learn something very early about him in regards to, ethnically speaking, what he's doing with this alternative blood and how he goes about his methods. I'm like, that is just a fundamental issue with the character as far as morally speaking. How am I supposed to root for this hero, anti-hero, when he's doing something that just seems fundamentally wrong? And then as the film progresses and we see the man become the monster, and this isn't a spoiler, this is in the trailers, when he's on the boat killing people, no remorse. No remorse of what he just did. And as the film kind of goes on, it's just moments of just like hollowness. Again, it makes me say that the script is just bad, because it's like we're seeing this contradiction of characters, and really there's no humanity in the characters, no heart in the characters, there's no care for the characters, no attention to detail to make me, I'll just speak for myself, I wasn't rooting for these characters. I just found them to be shallow and hollow and really kind of lack that human side. Again, Jared Leto tries to bring out the humanity, but it's just not given to him, which I think the weakest element is the script. It's plot holes all over the place, and it just contradicts itself over and over again. The jokes are flat. The story is just very basic. And again, it's The Mask, The Son of the Mask. That's not good for this film. But hey, there's more I can say without getting into the spoilers. But overall, it just didn't work for me as a narrative. I just found it to be quite boring as the film went on. Should you see it? What is my score? I'm going to get to that here in a second. Before I do so, make sure you're liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. Look, overall, Morbius, when it does kind of focus on the duality of what makes this person who wants to save lives now taking lives, what does that do to him? And I think when it does focus on that, it has an interesting narrative to tell. I thought that the actors tried their best. I thought the visual effects were okay. There are tinges of horror. It is a comic book movie in there, and I will just address this. I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say this. There was a rumor that everything as far as like, is this tied to a Spider-Man universe, was taken away from the film. That's not true. I won't say what they kept in, what they removed, but there are Easter eggs that allude to a greater universe. I'll just say that. But overall, this film it has plot holes. It is unfocused. It is not a cohesive story. It is just lacks attention to detail. So overall, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. Should you see it in theaters? Do what you will with your money. I did, see it on the IMAX, and some of those visuals I talked about was cool to see, but I don't think this is worth like running out to see it in theaters opening weekend. Check it out if you want on a Tuesday $5 discount, or when it comes out in Blu-ray in 45 days. So 2 out of 5. I don't think it's worth running out to theaters in opening weekend. But hey, let's get into a discussion here. That's my review. This is a spoiler discussion here. This is talking about the elephant in the room, the post-credit scene. So again, you've been warned. Review is here. We're gonna cap it off here and talk about the post-credit scenes. I don't even want to make a separate video for that because I don't think this film is worth that energy and time. So let's talk about it in this same video. Post-credit scene number 1. The film ends. We see Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, aka Vulture, the Rift from Spider-Man No Way Home. He comes into this universe and now is in a prison cell, and he doesn't know how he got there. He just says, hey, I hope the food's better in this joint than it was in my universe. So he sees that. The news is out there that there's a mysterious man in a jail cell who's going to be let free from jail because they don't have records for him, right? That's post-credit scene number 1. What the hell is that? Why? Who thought of that? And you can clearly see that they shot this post-credit scene post Spider-Man No Way Home, because this film was supposed to come out before that film. So no way would, how were they able to implement that? So just fundamentally speaking, it doesn't make any sense. We know that Venom went back to his world. Why is Michael Morbius, or not Michael Morbius, but why is Adrian Toomes, why doesn't he go back to his world? Doesn't make sense. Which brings us to post-credit scene number 2, which literally looked like they shot that last week, because you can just tell Jared Leto looks different. They didn't even show Michael Keaton's face in this scene. And by the way, how the hell did he get his suit when he was in jail? Like, how did he go around to make a suit? Whatever. He's a resourceful individual, I guess, and he was able to make these falcon wings that he did from his universe. He didn't have the Tinkerer to help him do so. Maybe this universe... Listen. Logically, it didn't make sense, but he goes up to Michael Morbius. He says to him, I'm here. I'm going to make the best of it. Well, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in this universe, but hey, Spider-Man, I'm not a fan of him, and I think it's good for us to team up. And Michael Morbius, who, again, was at the end of the film, he's becoming his own person. He's going to fight this battle. He's going to fight to be this anti-hero. He's all of a sudden... I'm intrigued. Why are you intrigued? Why? Why would you want to, and how are you all going to get back to this universe? And how, again, it's just, Sony to me right now is like the kid when you were in high school or middle school when you did a class project, and then you do all the work, but then the other kid gets an A because you did all the work. Marvel's doing all the heavy lifting with Sony as far as their, adaptation of Spider-Man and Tom Holland and the success of that character. And whenever they are not attached to the MCU, it's just not good. I don't like the Venom films. I didn't like this film. We'll see what happens with Kraven and Madam the Web, but based on this film, the post-credit scenes, and just the mishandling of the characters, I'm not too hopeful. But that's my thoughts on the post-credit scenes. They just didn't make sense. They just logically don't make sense. But hey, again, this was a spoiler portion. Just wanted to share my opinions. Let's talk about it in the comments, your thoughts on the post-credit scene, your thoughts on the film as a whole. Thank you all for watching this review. I wish this film was a lot better, but unfortunately it just didn't work for me. But again, before you leave, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Hope you all are having a great day. I will be seeing another film later today that I hope that can cleanse this palette that I was left with this film. But again, hope you're having a great day. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to my channel. Check out my other content. We'll catch you on the next video.